just went and saw the new Batman movie, so I thought I would eat this Batman Calzone from Little Caesars and talk about it. Ooh, look at this right here. All right, both the movie and the Calzone. It's like a double review, I guess. Anyways, let's get this here. First of all, what is a calzone? You're probably wondering. It's a pizza, but then it's also a calzone. See, so it's a calzone. It's obviously, duh. So I'm gonna mop up this thing. The people at my Little Caesars were nice. They took pity on the sad man who was getting a Batman Calzone by himself, and they gave me 2 lithographs for free. Because when I think fine art, I think Little Caesars. Let me get some napkins and some crazy dipping sauce for this calzone. Oh boy, what a mess this is gonna be. All right, let's put a hurting on this. The movie itself is good. It's weird. I'm in a strange position where I didn't love it, but I liked it a lot, and it's a strong recommend. Let's see. Yeah, it's Little Caesars pizza. I mean, if you're a pizza snob, you already know you're not gonna like this thing, but I mean, cheese and pepperoni, that's a good crust. Got my little dipping sauce. It's pretty good. I'll definitely be mobbing this thing by the time I'm done with my review. Movie started out, it's raining out when I went to go see it, and it's raining in the theater when you go see it. So I had this like perfect experience when checking it out. Doing a review while eating is harder than I thought it would be. My bad. So it's raining out, and I go to the Fandango website, get my seat. All the other theaters are sold out, except the 9:50 showing, completely empty. So maybe they added it later, but I kind of thought it was a trap. You know what I mean? I'm no sucker. Even though I just paid $8 for a pepperoni pizza calzone hybrid thing. Actually, it's pretty good. I mean, I just sat through a 3-hour movie. So the idea that this is something I definitely need right now is a must-have. I get into the theater, dead center, middle of the row. And of course, right before it starts, like 3 people come in and they have the seats right next to me. So, you know, pardon me if I have the COVID. I'll probably be giving it to you during this video. So the lights go down, and then like 8 more teenage boys come in. It's like, oh, this is gonna suck. So they go in the back row, and I'm hoping there's not gonna be any firearms or whatever. The movie starts, and it's like almost a cold open. It's just the title, and they no other like credits to start the movie. I don't believe. I was kind of like, you know, making sure, trying to get my surroundings after everything changed, you know. So it starts off with someone spying on what appears to be a rich family in a mansion and a cute little kid dressed up like a ninja. So right away you're thinking, yeah, this is probably, we're going to see the Thomas Wayne and Martha Wayne murder again. But it's not. It's the mayor's family. The mayor ends up getting murdered, and that sparks the whole story. Still no credits till the end. So that's wild, cold open, especially for a 3-hour movie. Damn. So the movie itself has all sorts of like, it reminds me of Seven a lot. It reminds me of Saw a lot. And that's one of my only real knocks against it, is it's very derivative. It takes cool things from that have been done cool before, but it doesn't do a good enough job of making it its own, which is, you know, that'd be my biggest knock. But like I said, it's still a strong recommend, even though there are little flaws along the way. The movie starts off with this murder mystery. Like I said, a lot like Seven, a little bit like Saw. We see the Batman interacting with the police, like how he does in the comic books. It's always real surreal, and you know they have a hatred for him because he's a vigilante. They should be arresting him, you know. So that whole dynamic's at play. Yeah, that's better. I didn't eat an hour before the movie, so it's been a good 4 or 5 hours since I've had anything. And you didn't want to use the bathroom either because it's like, well, what if I miss something important? I got to tell you guys about it, right? So the whole thing is this murder mystery to start. And the murder mystery itself leads Batman to this club that's being run by the Penguin slash the head gangster in town, the Carmine Falcone. The story itself reminds me a lot of Long Halloween, which is one of my favorite graphic novels of Batman. It's like this murder mystery thing where Batman's pretty much convinced it's the Riddler, and they're like, no, he's in Arkham. This is clearly someone else. And it's this long, like, you know, whodunit kind of thing that takes place across, you know, holidays and all these, you know, riddles and everything. So this has a lot of what the comic book provides without being campy, which is really cool because Nolan's universe is better. I enjoy the Nolan movies better than this film. However, this movie also does a great job of making the absurd feel absurd, but still like creepy. You know what I mean? Like a dude standing around in a Batman costume is kind of laughable, but and the people in the movie are even like, what the hell is this? That's another thing. This movie is also sort of based on Batman Year One. Year One was obviously Batman's first year at being Batman. It was written by, I believe, Frank Miller, but who did The Dark Knight and all that. So the Batman Year One, it is somewhat in here. Like he's still developing the Batmobile. He's still developing the suit. He's still, you know, all that. But the movie goes out of its way to make sure, oh shit, I'm recording this in 10-minute intervals because it's on the 60-second, so there's going to be a weird cut here. I was trying to go for like a one-take thing, but, you know, bear with me. So this whole thing was very similar to Batman Year One, where you see Batman, you know, getting started in the batting Manning game. You know, it's a hard game to crack, that Batmaning. You know, a lot of times you have to get that job through someone you know. You know, it's a hookup job, that being a Batman thing. But this isn't Batman Year One. The movie goes out of its way to let you know that this is actually Year Two. Because Batman is keeping a journal. And we see this is Year Two of him doing this. We also hear he hasn't picked out the name The Batman yet. He hasn't really totally realized he looks like a bat, even though there's kind of a bat emblem on his chest, apparently. But and him working in a cave is just like a side thing, you know, whatever. Total coincidence. So this isn't a Long Halloween because we know the Riddler's involved. And this isn't Year One because it's clearly Year Two. Like I said, Batman keeps a journal. Riddler also keeps a journal. A lot of journaling in this. Big for the vlog crowd. You know, if you got a blogger or whatever account, this is your ship. You know, where my Tumblr head's at. Whoop, whoop. The Riddler's whole murder plot and clues left for Batman lead him to a nightclub that is being owned by the Falcone crime family. In the Batman universe, there's also, besides the supervillains, there's also regular crime and organized crime. And the organized crime in this, it's the Falcone and Maroni families, as is tradition in the Batman movies. This time, Carmine Falcone. Sorry, I should have more Italian in what I'm saying while I'm eating this authentic Italian food. By the way, I understand that a combination pizza / calzone called a calzone is, that's an abomination. But it's still, like I said, it's pretty damn good. I'm enjoying it. I'm just like Commissioner Gordon, and I just got back from seeing Batman Alone in the Rain. So what am I going to complain about? It's delicious. All right, let's tear off a chunk of this calzone and try it while I'm here. Ooh, the calzone up top is split. So it's kind of like a 4 calzone bites. See, it's there you go. Oh, cramping my abs. There we go. Or maybe a heart attack. Maybe we're filming me have a heart attack. That would be terrible, but I bet it would go viral. I don't think a heart attack is a viral disease. Yeah. What they've done is they've taken the dough that they use for their crazy bread and made it into a calzone. But I don't really know how they've attached it to the regular pizza. I'm assuming some sort of dough concoction. They've done something somewhere. Probably involves some thawing. I bet some frozen and some unthawing was involved. But in this cheese here, there's all sorts of little sausage, meat. Oh, is that bacon? I think it's sausage. I think it's pepperoni. It's bite size of pepperoni and the cheese. So it's basically just a big hunk of cheese and bread and pepperoni dipped in sauce. So yeah, maybe that is a heart attack I'm having. That'd be cool. So Batman is in this nightclub. That's so cheesy. Sorry, I don't mean to be racist. My bad.
Mukbang.
Yeah, that was a hit. The Calzone tail and head on the Batman. There's a pizza update for you.
Mukbang.
So, the Batman is in this nightclub and he encounters Catwoman. And she works at Selena Kyle, whatever. She's a go-go dancer. Now, most of the times in the comic book, she's usually some kind of sex worker or something real salacious like that. That's kind of her thing, right? Since this is PG-13, they toned it down. She's a go-go dancer. She's also working as like kind of a middleman drug dealer kind of thing. She's delivering drinks and little baggies of things on the tray, whatever. And Catwoman's never really been real concerned with whether or not she's committing crimes. That's part of her charm. So Batman meets up with her and gets the kind of uses her.
Mukbang.
And kind of uses her to infiltrate the club and get in there and look around. And yikes. Yeah, the pepperoni mixed in with the cheese, and then the crazy bread dough. The crazy bread dough's got like a powdery cheese around it and kind of a buttery deal. Pretty decadent and gluttonous. The hearty part is the calzone. Like I was looking at the little middle pizza part and I was like, oh, I'll kill that. But yeah, all this cheese and dough up at the top and the bottom, that's clearly the boss in this battle. Yeah, all that cheese and bread, very chewy. Very good though. Yeah. Like I said, I got some artwork out of it. Got a full belly.
Mukbang.
Got out of the rain for a minute while I was cooking. Yeah, the Batman Calzone is a thumbs up. Once again, regular Batman movie, strong thumbs up, but I think a lot of people say it's great. It is pretty damn good, but it's not, great. So Batman and Catwoman start falling in love with this whole, like, him using her as a spy to get into the club kind of thing. And she's an interesting character because when we meet her, she has a girlfriend that she loves so much that that's her, like, catalyst for even getting involved in this. But then in, like, 2 or 3 scenes, she's in love with Batman. I mean, as an audience, we know she's supposed to be in love with Batman, so it feels natural that she is, which is weird that she has a girlfriend when this starts, and all, whatever, strange. It makes me not like her as much because, she seems disloyal. Oh, coming up to another restart. So the Catwoman character is complex. Her whole story, she brooding and sad. She's kind of the emo one in this, although it's Zoe Kravitz. So she's really pretty and she looks like a model, but she looks like, when models, they tell a model, be sad. And she goes, high cheekbone sadness. That's kind of Zoe Kravitz in this. Like, real pretty, she delivers, she does fine. I was explaining to someone, I feel like this is, I'm about to say something dumb, but I like Anne Hathaway's character of Catwoman. I think Zoe Kravitz's portrayal of Catwoman is better, but in the Nolan movies, the Anne Hathaway Catwoman is a more developed character. Like, she's a bad guy and she's messing with Bruce Wayne and she kind of doesn't like him and she doesn't like Batman and she's, in between on whether or not she wants to help them and she doesn't think that there's any point in being good and but she kind of has this wish that, she could go straight and live happily ever after, with the white picket fence and get away from this life of crime and all that. But this character just sort of feels like she's just sort of hanging out and being hot and she's got issues and, she'll work through them or whatever. I mean, yeah, she's a cat burglar, but even then she gets caught. Like, the only time we see her cat burgling, whatever, when we see her doing Catwoman stuff, she gets busted, like, every time we see her. I think maybe one time she gets away with it, but other times, what are you up to, Catwoman? You're not very good at this. So,
Mukbang.
So, Catwoman, like everybody in this movie, got parent issues. She's comes out later on and admits, as a spoiler, in this version of Batman, the 18th universe, in this Batman, she admits that her mother had an affair with Carmine Falcone. So the head mobster is her father, but she's a bastard or whatever the hell a father who doesn't take claiming of a daughter is. So she's got daddy issues, and she kind of got this whole thing with John Turturro. And it's a good enough story. I liked it, but they also had to throw in that Batman's got his whole parent issues thing, and you would think, okay, well, that's why they meet. But then the Riddler also has a subplot about how he was an orphan, and that's why he's mad at Thomas Wayne for dying and not funding the orphanage like he said he would. And just, damn, man, the daddy issues movie.
Mukbang.
Whatever. Another aspect of this movie that people are going to talk about and they're going to say that they just loved and thought was super great was how dark it is. Yes, visually, like I said, it's a ripoff of the movie Seven. The whole thing is just like in the rain and old wooden houses and creaky floorboards and all that, which is cool. I like that aesthetic. I like that Victorian thing. I've heard people say that this is their favorite Gotham they've ever seen, and it's just kind of a ripped off Gotham. It's better than the Gotham in the Nolan movies because the Nolan movies are like real cities. This is a Gotham more akin to like Burton's Gotham. It falls in between Burton's Gotham And well, Burton and Schumacher's Gotham. Schumacher's Gotham was pretty cool, but it was just whoa, like it was Burton's Gotham, which was already crazy, just turned up to like 90. You know, and this is kind of that same, it feels a lot like Tim Burton's Gotham, but, you know, overall, it still just looks like Seven. That's what I keep coming back to. If you've seen Seven, this movie's just kind of half ruined for you. But it's such a well-done portrayal of Batman, and the idea that you would take, you know, the same way Captain America Winter Soldier ended up taking, you know, a dumb character like Captain America and being like, okay, well, let's make like a 70s spy thriller kind of espionage thing, right? A cool idea, real smart. Gave it some like kind of, put some stakes into the movie and made it like worth caring about the characters, because it's like, oh, there's a little mystery, you know, you political intrigue and all that. But in this, they decided, let's go like with a kind of psychological thriller. You know, let's make this creepy and weird, kind of a foreboding, like Silence of the Lambs is a really good comparison to what this is like. Like it's a police procedural about a young vigilante, kind of like a young cop on the job, learning his way and being a Batman, which is a weird story to cover, but that's why it's kind of cool and interesting. Like I said, it's kind of like year one, but so Batman. Sorry, I have notes over to the side here, and every now and then I look to see where I'm at. Like I said, the darkness of this and the tone, like bad things happen in this, like things where you're like, oh no, and even the stuff where it's kind of like supposed to be a surprise, it's sort of stolen. Like, you know, The Dark Knight has a scene that's very similar to this scene, and that's kind of what I thought this movie was. It took all the best parts of Dark Knight and all the best parts of Burton's Batman and then threw it into Seven and Saw. So that's probably the easiest way to describe it from a movie nerd standpoint. From a Batman lover standpoint, it's like my fourth or fifth favorite Batman movie, maybe even sixth. I don't know. I really, you know, obviously The Dark Knight is my favorite. That's my jam. And I like The Dark Knight Rises way more than the average person. Like they're like, oh, I don't like Bane's voice or whatever. Like, you're a whiny baby. It's like complaining about Little Caesar's pizza. Pizza's pizza. Quit your crying. So, you know, the Bane character, if you don't like that Bane character, go see Bane in the George Clooney Batman. Like, woof. So, that Dark Knight Rises, and even then people are kind of jerks about that. They're like, oh, it wasn't that good. Well, it's like, of course, because it couldn't follow The Dark Knight, which was so awesome. And then people will still like quote the hell out of that whole Bane, I was molded by the darkness, you merely were, you know, adopted it or whatever. People will take that scene and talk about how great it is, but then at the same time, like, oh, it's not as good a movie. But, you know, it's like, no, it was way ahead of its time. It saw the class money struggle thing coming way ahead. It was even ahead of Occupy Wall Street, and it has an Occupy Wall Street scene in it. Like, that Dark Knight Rises movie, like, really got overlooked. And then, of course, both the Burton movies were, you know, the flag in the ground that said it's okay to do, like, treat this subject matter as if it was serious. And that's what I love about those movies, is even though it's got the bizarre, weird kind of like kinky S&M thing going on to it,
Mukbang.
rubber and latex and just, you know, whips and, you know, all that. Then when they decided like, well, this is too dark and creepy for kids, we got to find somebody else with similar sensibilities. And then they grabbed Joel Schumacher, and he kind of takes it more like colorful and flamboyant instead of like kinky and, you know, sort of almost icky. I enjoy both of those so much. And then obviously that Batman cartoon, the animated series, that's about as good as anything gets. It's fantastic. And then the original Adam West Batman, when you look at it, that movie's fantastic. It knows it's a comedy, and it's playing itself as a comedy, as where the Joel Schumacher Batman movie is, Batman and Robin in particular, is just so, it's not funny. Like, there are jokes, but they're all sort of puns and like bad wordplay, and everything's just big and silly. And that was the approach they took, is we're doing a comic book movie here, people. But, you know, Tim Burton took the approach of like, I'm doing a troubled dude movie here. Like this guy's got psychological problems and he dresses up like a bat and goes out and beats up people. It's like, yeah, that's the Batman I'm more interested in. An evolving character, not, you know, a do-gooder in a weird suit. See, another one of these Calzone Batman years. Yeah, it looks to me like this has got to be something they sent to the company, each individual Little Caesars or something, because the calzone part is clearly different from the crust. So I don't think they're making those poor employees make this. Maybe they are. I don't know. Another reason I bring up Dark Knight Rises and sing its praises so hard is because this movie has a lot of that tone in it, where Gotham itself is like the abused girlfriend in this movie. Like Gotham itself gets just its ass kicked the whole time. If something bad could happen, something bad will happen. Like, obviously I'm doing my best to kind of give you the plot without giving too many spoilers, with the exception of Selena Kyle figuring out that their father is John Turturro. Yeah, this mug is hella dough, yo.
Mukbang.
I've really sort of weirded out. I wouldn't say weirded out, actually. That's a weird way to phrase it. I'm sort of surprised that a thing that's always existed in comic book lore is now finding its way into film lore, like this sort of an idea of a multiverse. You know, like we just saw, you know, Batman as, you know, Christian Bale, and then he was replaced and Batman was suddenly Ben Affleck, although Ben Affleck decided not to really do it, or he's, you know, real one toe in the water. He's still talking about maybe making his Batman movie, even though he backed out of this one that wasn't, you know, he was going to be in this. And they ended up having to get Robert Pattinson because Ben Affleck, you know, decided he was too afraid of the abuse that he was going to take after people hated the damn Batman versus Superman. All right. So there's that Batman, there's the Christian Bale Batman, there's the Michael Keaton Batman, there's the Adam West Batman, but then, and then the Kevin Conroy Batman and the Batman Beyond and all that. So I think they've just sort of adapted. Oh, and then there's the Batman that's a little boy in the Joker, Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie. Not to be confused with the new Joker played by Jared Leto. It's fucking ridiculous. So they've sort of accepted the idea of this multiverse thing where it's like, oh yeah, there's just all these different stories and all these different ones. You know, I think that Spider-Man movie really was ahead of the curve of helping people understand the concept of just, well, there's, you know, all these different stories existing at once, you know, what do you call it? Theoretical physics. Look at me, smart, as I stuff my face with cheese and beef and whatnot.
Mukbang.
But at the end of this one, spoiler alert, the Riddler ends up in Arkham Asylum, and in the cell next to him is someone who's apparently the Joker. Like, we don't get a good look at him, but we see the big grin, and we hear him giggling and laughing. And he looks crazy. And I don't mean crazy like mentally insane as the Joker is. I mean crazy like practical effects maybe for the mouth, and it looks bad. That's one of my only real knocks with this movie is that Colin Farrell looks kind of ridiculous with, I don't know, a fat suit or whatever on him. Like, they needed to make Colin Farrell the Penguin. And I didn't know who he was until the credits. Like, I didn't do any, I think I kind of knew that Paul Dano was the Riddler. But the movie itself, like I said, it copies Seven. So the Riddler is just a person in the background who we never see, and we just hear, we find his notes and his clues and stuff, but he's not really around until the third act, and then he shows up, and you're like, Like, that's one of the reasons Seven's so amazing. It's like, you saved Kevin Spacey until the third act. Like, that's what this does. It leaves the who the hell is the Riddler open, and then finally when you realize it's Paul Dano, you're like, oh well, that makes sense. He creepy weird dude. That's about right.
Mukbang.
And I like this updated kind of not right in the head Riddler. Like I said, he feels like Jigsaw, or to a little bit extent of like Silence of the Lambs and John Doe and Seven. But I also liked they added aspects that were in Arkham City, Arkham Asylum, whatever, the video game series for Batman. In there, the Riddler's like a computer hacker, which makes more sense for his character. He would be high tech and more into, riddles and bizarre things. So he would obviously be smart enough to understand how to, code computers. Now, you see, I did a decent hurting on it, but it's catching up to me now. Whew. Especially those calzone. I shot my mouth off too big on the calzone parts. That's some doughy. Like, I've basically eaten 1.5 calzone and like a third of that pizza.
Mukbang.
So what I would thought was going to be something very mobbable is apparently someone's going to maybe win. So I'm going to talk about this movie for a little bit more. I may have another piece or two. We'll see how far I get before I throw in the towel. All right, let's see here. The director was Matt Reeves. You probably know him, or at least I know him, from Cloverfield, the first one, not the subsequent knockoffs where they just tack the word Cloverfield onto a movie that has nothing to do with Cloverfield. And then they put 2 or 3 Cloverfield scenes in it, and they're just like, aha, there you go. He also did the American remake of Let the Right One In, Let Me In. I've never seen it because I was like, why bother? I've seen the good one. And people are like, no, you need to see it. It's one of the few times that the American remake is actually, decent. He's also most known probably for the last 2 Planet of the Apes movies. Not the first one, not Planet of the Apes or whatever, but War of and Battle for or whatever. The most recent Planet of the Apes movies. He did that. So, he had the CGI background. He had the action background. He had, he comes from that world, the sci-fi horror, the convention crowd, right on. Robert Pattinson, I thought he did good. I'm not a Robert Pattinson guy. I mean, I know everybody's like, oh, he's so emo and moody. And, he, in a lot of the pictures, they really play up the idea that Batman has to wear eye makeup to keep his eyes hidden beyond the cowl, Like in the Michael Keaton Batman, he had the cowl on, but then they kind of like kept his face in the shadows so you couldn't see he was all eye blacked up. But in this one, they kind of play up the eye black, so he looks like, Robert Smith from The Cure or whatever. He's just hairs in his face, and he's got the messed up eye makeup, and he's real dreamy and sad, the creepy school shooter. Zoe Kravitz, like I said, she's very good in this. She's, a very pretty woman, but she just felt false on a lot of times. Her character was poorly written, not her. So, that could have been anybody doing that, but no, I take that back. She's great in it because she's very pretty and she fills that role, but the character is so underdeveloped and uninteresting and unnecessary, and just sort of like one moment she's in damsel in distress and the next second she's the savior, and then Batman's about to die, and of course we have to have the modern thing where the woman saves the dude at one point. So, yeah, I'm glad she was there because, she's nice to look at, but this character was just needed to be rewritten and then rewritten again. Jeffrey Wright in this is kind of perfect. Like this, he's not commissioner yet. He's like one of the lead detectives, and then the movie starts off with the commissioner getting murdered. So, you assume that he will be moving into the commissioner role, whatever. And they kind of explain in the movie that he's the one that builds this weird light to let Batman know, that to come help me out, man. So as the movie starts out, we have a signal now. So, oh, that's kind of cool. He does a good job in it because he's just, as a Commissioner Gordon's go, it's, anybody can be Commissioner Gordon. You just have to kind of be stern-faced, stiff upper-lipped, like, the square who helps Batman, right on. Turturro, great job. He always does a great job. He's just John Turturro at this point, though. He kind of just is like Robert De Niro. When Robert De Niro's in something, it's going to be Robert De Niro. When Jack Nicholson is in something, it's going to be Jack Nicholson. So when John Turturro's in something, pretty much ever since Secret Window, like Secret Window was the last time he tried to be somebody other than John Turturro. But like in general, he's very good in this. I liked him. He's exactly what you needed as a strong character actor. I think in the other one, who they have, Eric Roberts or somebody, whatever. And then Colin Farrell, he's good, but like, once again, the stolen scene. He has a part where he's just like, come on, like daring Batman to get him. It's like, isn't that exactly what the Joker did in the Nolan movies, where he's like, come on, like, whatever. I didn't like the derivative stuff. That bothered me. Paul Dano, yeah, like I say, he's doing the Kevin Spacey in Seven role, or to a certain extent, maybe Hannibal Lecter or John Doe. Like, he's clinically insane to the point where he's just all over the place. And then this time, Alfred was Andy Serkis, who, it's funny that to see him in a role where he's not, CGI'd. Like, he's not Baron. He's one of them damn people in the Marvel universe as well. I can't remember. He's in the early ones. He's like a Russian or a South African drug dealer or something like that, or whatever. I can't think of his name. But he's very good in that. But he's primarily known for, being King Kong, or being the apes in Planet of the Apes, or being Gollum. I think, that's his most famous role, is probably, So to see Andy Serkis just be Andy Serkis and not be motion capture Andy Serkis was kind of cool. I was happy for him to get a role, but at the same time, he's already in too much of this genre. You know what I mean? Go do a movie about a single mother with cancer, Andy Serkis. Where's your Oscar bait movie? Let's see here. I mentioned that it looked like Batman Year One, Long Halloween, and had stolen some stuff from Arkham Asylum. So it was just, all the stuff that's good and people like and just thrown together, which is usually what I dig, sort of the Tarantino style. But he doesn't alter it enough to make his own. Matt Reeves, that is. The movie itself needed to just be all those ideas that they have needed to just be evolved a little bit more. I thought the movie itself, Batman's character arc, he moves from being vengeance in the beginning, where, like, I'm not even sure he has a name. Like, they don't call him the Batman or whatever. I think I say this evolving story of him becoming the Batman. And then even at the end, he sort of evolves into hope. So it's the character arc isn't that he's the Batman. He's evolving from someone who's doing what he's doing because he's angry and furious to doing what he's doing because he wants to create a better tomorrow. So we'll see. I don't know. That kind of also sounds to me like in the next movie, he'll show up in the gray and blue with the big smile and doing the Watusi with people. Let's see. There's also a real, like, hate your parents, kind of tear down the patriarchal father figure thing. Like I said, there's a whole bunch of side stories with everybody's an orphan in this. Like, okay, whatever, cool. The people who aren't orphans end up being orphaned. Like, there's a whole sub story about the guy that gets murdered at the beginning and his little son that was dressed as a ninja. He's an orphan and Batman connects to him. So it's just orphan. Which is weird, statistically, I don't think that many people are orphaned at a young age, but then also statistically, I think pretty much most people, their parents eventually pass away. So everybody relates to, weird. It's a lot to put in a Batman movie, also this movie needed like an hour cut out of it. If it was 210, 220, it would be very good. I think 2 hours would have been just right, but they needed a lot of like slow-mo walking through clubs and like there's just shot after shot of people like cool-facedly walking. you know, and that's, you know, speed that up, cut that out. I mean, I understand it sets tone and it helps for pacing, but like there's a part where Catwoman's on the phone, or Batman and Catwoman are on the phone, and you can tell that was just stuck in there so they can do the old, like, we cut some stuff out, so we need to, you know, clear up plot points with the fake phone call that you could do the voiceover later and explain, oh, by the way, the bombs are outside. And you're like, oh, the bombs are outside. You know, yikes. Sorry about that. There. All right, I'm almost done anyways. So yeah, this is a strange movie for me to review. I love all the Batman movies. I've seen them all, you know, even the old 1930s and 40s serials, you know, Adam West, everything. It's my jam, except for Batman Beyond. I'm not into that. That's not my gig. But the rest of it, you know, the cartoons, all of them, you know, the graphic novels, the t-shirts. I feel like overall, I have to give this like maybe a 7 or an 8. It's probably an 8 out of 10. The problem is, it just needed, if it trimmed an hour out of it, I give it a strong 8, which is weird because it's a strong recommend. It's just, this isn't the 10 a lot of people are giving it, but I would say that people are either going to like it or they're going to love it. The people who hate it are just being contrarian jerks. So, shout out to the Batman Calzone. I shot my mouth off and you defeated me.
Mukbang.
I'm sure I'll have the rest later for a midnight snack while I'm editing this. But go see the Batman in theaters now and go get your Batman Calzone and get your lithograph. I don't know if they actually have those at your place.